My ancestors were shapeshifters, so spiritually in tune with the universe that they spoke directly to their gods. Don't ever think that the colonizers' reign of savage war upon our people can be justified or sustained. Or you may just be reminded that those shapeshifters walk this earth. They surge through these veins and through the veins of our mukapuna, and they do not forget. Colonization would do well to sleep with one eye open. The indigenous of this world are rising. We are aligned with the pulse of this earth. The indigenous of this world are rising, and together we will change the trajectory of the future. There is a lot of talk in Te Tiriti space about mana motuhake, mana ki te mana o te wai. But the point is that mana is functional in that space and in that fight and in that resistance because it has a job to do. And the job it has to do is to protect our tapu, our right to be free. It is only important really for what it does, for what it enables and what it protects. Our tapu. The women of the indigenous world know that it is our sacred that we are fighting for. Not authority for the sake of it, not even political clout or power, but something much greater, the crux of our existence, our right to be us, our Hawaii, our sacred, our right to be free, and our right not to be forcibly assimilated into someone else's warped idea of our place. If we are to rebuild indigenous nations, restore our rangatiratanga, we must understand ourselves. We must understand the colonial architecture is built upon our oppression, the denial of us. In colonial spaces, us just being is problematic. So tinkering around the edges of colonial systems, colonial laws, and colonial policies will only ever deliver colonial outcomes by design. This poem was written in response to the government's constant redefinition of their treaty commitments. Excuse the explicit language. They've horse-traded our treaty again in the back corridors of power, told us the economy made them do it. They do it so easily now, there's not even a noise. We're just so used to getting colonially fucked. Every time they find an excuse to throw our rights out the door, like a field worker who forgot they got no place in the big house, stuck in their white savior complex, tried to convince us of their civilization lies, of how grateful we should be, of how consensual it was to be an oppressed underclass on our own ancestral lands. Fuck, can you hear her weeping for us? And you know what petty distraction pisses me off? It's our pride. It's what little we've got left. Behind closed doors, they're thick as pig shit. And sometimes too inept to even colonize competently. We've learnt their game. We outplay them at times. But we're constantly reminded, no matter how close victory looks, we don't own the pieces and we don't own the board. It is the shadow of the land that remains. But then it doesn't matter, if you also make all the rules. Just shift the game to suit yourselves and shrug your shoulders because you got no answer for me. When I got to go back and tell the mukapuna of Apanui their ancestral rights got fucked again because Becky or Katie or Susie with a Y didn't feel like the mood was quite there yet. She didn't think her faceless Trumpolian minister understood the point that was being made. You know, the point that was written in parchment on the 6th of February 1840 that says full, exclusive and undisturbed possession of their lands, forests, fisheries, kāinga and all other taonga, for as long as they shall wish to retain them? Well, here we are, wishing to retain them. Is that the point your shit for brains minister don't understand? It's written in his language, for God's sake. It's in his law, and it's in his political frame. No answer from Becky. Just shrug. Shrug off my treaty rights, just rolled off the shoulder onto some parliamentary shag pile rug like a piece of native fluff the land-grabbing Hoover didn't quite catch. It's laughable how easily they pull this shit off time and time again and smile at us and say that's the spirit of partnership. Say we fuck your right to self-determination, but occasionally ask if you'd like lube. Your 30 pieces of silver for every pound of our flesh, it's really only the military that keep you there, as you remind us in Te Uruwera, in the Raukumara, in Parihaka, at Te Tarata, at Pokehinahina, at Rangiriri, at Matawhero, at Ihumātao, at Takaparafau, off Mahia, and throughout the Rohe your indoctrination of our previously Mātauranga Māori rich minds, replaced by your Pythagoras theorem and your 3 bloody blind mice. That piece was written in response to legislative reform that's now been scrapped. We fought and fought for te mana o te wai. We fought and fought for te oranga o te taiao, to protect Papatuanuku, to protect our atua, to protect our mukapuna. And they were gone before Christmas under this new coalition. In this game that we're playing for our survival, you have to be an optimist. If you are anti-colonial, you have to be an optimist. Because the pessimists are already speaking the language of surrender. They're already telling us how to miri the system and get the best out of what we possibly can, because they don't believe in their sanctity. When it comes to our sacredness, it is impossible to squish that into imperial structures born of toxic doctrines. They want us to believe our DNA can survive and thrive in foreign ideologies and power structures. They require us to be oppressed underclasses, and the enslavement of our earth is secondary to that. The optimists amongst us will propel change, but will get bruised along the way. Too often it's suggested to me that we should separate emotion from our struggle, but it is visceral, and I refuse to dehumanize colonization. That is a trap of worrying proportions. We must continue to feel it. We must continue to feel our rangatiratanga at a cellular level. Sometimes that is messy, sweary, raw, fluid. Sometimes it looks like it hits us to our core. These are the emotional spectrum that is triggered when something hits you at your sacredness. Our front line need to feel their core. Our leadership need to feel their core. And we need to have protected spaces in which it may restore ourselves. The power to define lies at the heart of self-determination. It is an internationally protected right. Article 1 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights says all peoples have the right to self-determination, the right to determine for ourselves who we are, where we are going. No one else has the power to define us. Any attempt to do so is illegitimate. We must reject these constant redefinitions of both ourselves and the treaty arrangement, and understand they're only attempting to redefine the treaty and what it means to be Māori, because there is power in that truth. We need to understand the power of our truth, the power of our being, the power of our dreaming, the power of our mātauranga, and we need to reject every single colonial fiction that finds itself into our space, including the redefinition of us and of our tapu. We are not taboo. We are not restricted. We are not prohibited. We are not some other English translation of what they think that very important word means. We are sacred. For us, we will not remove the sacred from ourselves for anything or anyone. My shield is made of my ancestors' prayers. It is impenetrable, the strength of Cody, interwoven in the language of our truths, of the sacred, helix, matrix, enter the colonnatrix. Indigenatives caused in a diasporic interruption, the white noise. Synthetically sustained mouse wheels of mundane, just numbness. At least the indigenous can still feel Papa's pulse. We're tired because the bougie ain't pulling their weight. They want to co-opt the evolution of ideas to the free-minded, while the jealousy and fear is hidden beneath annual donations and champagne fundraisers. But when the power shifts, they draw the drawbridge up. They weaponize us for political kicks. But it's actually big oil, big pharma, and big military that they get on their knees for, not for us. We're a political feel-up in a dark alley. We're on the front line, sleeping rough on our own land, in occupation, in rebellion, while the rest of the great New Zealand mainstream, educated or not, are getting a free ride on the back of our pickpocketed jackets. New Zealand, you stole everything you have. And until you admit that no constitution will save you, the empire has stripped our mokapuna bare, and you made a clusterfuck of your treaty obligations for the 184th year in a row. This, I don't want to be a privileged lot. This, we want one law for all lot, except when they're stealing from us. Then the law is blind, blind, blind. People that sold us the bullshit that colonization was consensual and we welcomed it, forget the guns at my tipuna's temples and now insist we remain polite. They don't mind a revolution as long as it doesn't affect property values. They want the status quo, and while that continues to represent our political, spiritual, economic and cultural oppression, that just ain't gonna work for us. We're here for a different end to the story. We're here to propel a plot twist of native proportions, shape-shift our way back to our truth, plug ourselves back in, run the fence sitters over on the pathway to weave ourselves back into our own story. We cannot be pawns in someone else's empire. The earth is literally screaming. Capitalism has corrupted our very existence. It doesn't work. It's never worked. It's the system of slave owners. Being native means we can hear the earth calling. We take on the distress. It's mirrored in our populations. We can't role play surrender. We got to switch it up. Time to get back to being us. We can go gentle, we can go tectonic, but we got to go true. True to us, to our ture, to our taiao, to our tikanga. It's all the same thing, the same pulse. When we align to it, we are the energy for change. We are sacred because we are the future. Indigenous nations cannot be rebuilt on colonial dreaming. The next major Māori occupation needs to be over the most contested piece of territory under attack, the attempted raupatu of our minds, the denial of our truths, our mātauranga, our Hawaii ki wānanga, our Māori. the redefinition of us by people who have their feet on our necks. We cannot allow them to render our culture performative and throw ko whai on white supremacist ideas and deny us our basic human right to be free from oppression. We will not allow that. We will remember our sacred. We will align ourselves to the pulse of this earth. We will remember our sacred and live it into our future. Our mokapuna depend on it. They will rise again and reclaim the most basic indigenous truth. He tapu hoki koe.